I wanted to create a feature that I thought was going to be as useful and as exciting as the one we did last week, which was pretty useful and pretty exciting.
Indeed,
just to remind folks about that, that allowed us to go into a format item in a string, like here, the caret's on the 0. Choose this, bring up the dialog that allows me to choose a specific type and different kinds of format options for it, and build that. So we created that last week. So we set the bar pretty high. And what I ended up coming up with, the idea that I ended up coming up with, is something that allows me to go from member to member. So we call it sibling navigation. That's what I call it, and I'm calling it super sibling navigation because I want to be able to, for example, if I'm here, like for example on the member name, and I want to go to the next one, I want to actually put the caret right there on the member name as well. Or if I'm at the start of the member and I go to the, say I want to go to the next one, I hit the key to go to the next one, I'm going to go to the start of the member down here. Okay?
Sure.
Likewise, if my caret is here and I say I want to go to the previous member, I want it to keep me in the same spot. So the idea is I'm in a particular location and I want to move to a sibling but maintain the same relative location.
Yeah.
Okay, make sense?
It does, yeah.
Similarly, okay, as if that, weren't exciting enough, if I have something selected like the member name or parameter or all the parameters or the code, and I move up, I want to keep that selection.
Ah.
Yeah. Similarly,
ambitious.
Hold on, we're not done.
There's more.
If I were, for example, here and I say, go to the next member, and the next member had an if statement followed by a throw, followed by a string format call, I'd want it to select the same string format call in the exact same position in the next member. And if it doesn't have it, well, just go to the closest thing it finds. But then if it gets to the next member that does have it, go in and select it. Exciting?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
No, I'm just, this I got to see.
Okay. So let's get to work. That's what I want to do. One thing I should point out, though. Let's see. Well, let's not point it out yet. Let's just go. So new plugin. We're going to call this CR_super sibling nav. Okay. All right. Click OK here.
Yep.
And let's go bring up the toolbox. By the way, Amanda said this was going to take an hour. I think it's going to be more like 2 because there's a lot of code, but we'll do our best. Okay, so we need to get a navigation provider. Drop that down.
Now, for those who are not familiar with a navigation provider, one of the default behaviors, this is like your refactoring provider or your code provider, only this shows up in the navigate menu, which is by default Control-Alt-N, and will show you all manner of different navigational facilities. I've even built my own sort of bits and pieces for navigating interfaces with that particular functionality.
So I'm going to call this member next, and it's going to work with with methods and properties. At least that's what we'll write this initially. And so we'll say navigates to the next member, method or property, attempting to restore a similar caret position or selection based on the current caret position or selection. And I guess we can specify an action hint here, member next, and let's give it a name, nav member next. Let's copy this, paste this, and now let's set the properties for this one. It's going to be nav member previous. Just going to copy that and change next everywhere it appears in here to previous. Okay. Now there are two that we really need to worry about: check availability and apply. So check availability here, basically these are going to be available if the caret is inside a method or property. So I'll say inside method or property, I suppose. Or maybe I'll just say sibling nav available. So we'll do that. We'll come back over here to this one, bring up its property, bring up its event for the check availability, paste that in there. So now that's there. Let's double click on the apply here. Double click on the apply there. Okay, so now we've kind of set up the framework for this. So for sibling nav available, VA dot, let's see, let's do this. Let's go into CodeRush dot source dot active method or property. A dot available equals, oops, not null. Okay, so that's whether we're going to be available or not. All right, so let's work with this piece right here. Now the way I want to do this, the way I'm thinking about doing this, Rory, is the idea is this: is you know, we've seen this before. Let me bring up the I'll bring up the Expressions Lab, so for folks who are watching maybe this one for the first time, they can get a sense of what I'm talking about. But let's say I'm here. Let's say the caret is here in this particular location. So over here in the Expression Lab, this is essentially the parse tree that we get for the source code that we're in, and there's essentially a hierarchical structure to it. The nodes that you see, each of these is a node here, and the nodes that you see in blue are in a collection of nodes called detailed nodes, and the nodes that you see in black are in a different collection with a different name, and they're just called nodes. And and the reason we have two different sets is because one set, like for example, we come up here, we get to this set piece in black is an actual statement of this node right here. So this piece is in black here. That's a statement. If we scroll down, there's another statement that's there. So you can see those two statements are selected there, or one at a time. I mean that one and then the next one. But then, like for example, in addition to that, the method has has a return type. There's a return type, and it has parameters.
Yeah.
Okay. So and there's a structure, right? So what I want to do is I want to create something to essentially mark the locations of the caret positions. So for example, here in this example, I've got a selection here around object sender, okay, and if we go down the structure all the way, we see object is a piece that's there. So what I want to do is I want to build something that says, okay, well, if all we have is a method, then the location of object is the start of this plus some offset. But then if we have an actual first parameter, I want to then say, well, then we're a little closer, and our delta between these known positions of where it starts and where we want the caret to be is much smaller. That delta is like 0 now here. Okay.
Sure.
And I essentially want to build a structure. I don't need to build the whole thing. No. I just need to essentially go from wherever the caret is, or the anchor position. So here's the caret, the flashing part, and the anchor is the other side of the selection. So if I do have a selection, I need to do this twice. But I need to go from wherever the caret is, the point I want to restore, and here you can see it's in object, a type reference expression, and I want to go up the parent of this until I get to the method. And I want to store essentially a path back to this. So I'm going to have an object to represent this, an object to represent that, an object to represent that. For each parent, I'm going to create an object, and that object is going to store the delta to get to the point I need to get to. That way, if the thing is there, we'll totally nail it, but if it's not there, we'll
get something that's fairly close. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs. If somebody's eaten the last couple of breadcrumbs, you're okay. You still got most of the way there.
Exactly. So I'm going to call this class, this thing, I'm going to call it an element location. And to store its position, one of the things I need is a language element type. Okay, so I'm going to store that, the language element type. Maybe I'm just going to call this, element type. And so that this will be able to match up, right? The language element type is the property of the element itself. In fact, if we come in here and see element type here, you'll see it says type reference expression. In fact, what we do in this viewer is we actually put the element type right up here in bold up at the top here. So anything on time I click on it, this is an initialized variable. This is a method. Okay, so that's the enum of this language element type enum right here. It's the enum element of that. So I want to store that piece right there. I also, in order to kind of drill back in, right, if I want to go back and find it to see if it find it, I need to know if it's a detail node or not, right? Is it in blue or is it not? So I need to have a new Boolean here that's going to say is detail node that, and then the other thing I want to do is, here, let's close this down a little bit, but the idea is, let's say we are here. Let me just create a new method here that has one param. Oops. So say we are here on this point, okay?
Yeah.
We say move down to the next one. Well, look, it doesn't have a second parameter, it only has one. So the question is, where do we go there, right? And then let's say we go to another one that's got 3 parameters. Where do we go, right? And so the idea is we want to go, essentially what I'm thinking I want to do, and we don't have to do this, but what I'm thinking I want to do is I want to get a count of which thing this is. So this here, if we bring back up the expression lab, this is probably going to be a type reference expression, I'm pretty sure is what we're going to see this as. Hold on, where were we? Let's go back. This is a namespace reference, but let's go back to where we were. If we're here, type reference expression, okay? And it's the second one. This is the first one, that's the second one. So what I want to do is I want to count how many of these detail nodes of that particular type we're in.
Sure.
Okay? So so think about this. Like if I'm in a method and I'm on the first try catch block, then I go down, I'm going to go to the first try catch block of the next piece underneath, or the second one or the third, depending on which one I'm on. So that's kind of the idea there. So what I want to do then is I want to store something like this, previous matching siblings, like that. Okay, so I have those, and the other thing I need to do is I need to have a variable of the same type that I'm in. So you can do this if you ever need a variable of the same type you're in, v plus a / we'll declare that, and I'm going to call this the child.
That's right. We're effectively making a linked list.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. And you know, it's when I was working on the run through on this, I was thinking, do I need a parent? And I was thinking probably not, because I'm kind of drilling. You know, I only need to evaluate the list once to find the best match as I go through it. Normally when I do this, though, I will often strongly consider putting a parent in when I'm creating a list, because it's often very useful to go backwards, go back up again. Okay, so that's going to be our element location. So that's going to take care of that piece. Let's move this over out into its own file. And there's our element location. So next what we need to do is in here we need to do this kind of apply thing. And I think what I'm going to need is I'm going to need element location, whoops, and I need something for the caret and something for the anchor. So again, the caret is the flashing part of the selection, and the anchor is the other side that's not flashing. It determines how big the selection is. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to need is as I move from here to say, well actually here, as I move from here, let's say all these are selected, and then I come down here and I only have one, I say, okay, let's select it. What's happening is I'm actually changing the selection, okay? And normally, if I like just click manually and change the selection, what I want is I want these locations to just kind of go away, because I want them to essentially say, okay, we're going to restart from scratch. But if I don't do that and I change the selection manually, like say for example I start here and I go down to here, I don't want, the next time I invoke it, I don't want it to say, okay, well, now we're just on one parameter, so when we go back up, we'll be here. Oops, hold on.
Yeah. So you want to store the start circumstances.
Yes,
so
and I want, so what I do
best
is
attempt with each and every movement.
Right, so if I go start here, and then I move down, and if I come back up, I want it to come back and give me 2.
So what if that third method there, method name, was one method higher in the sequence?
Sure.
Okay. So you started on nav member next apply, and you had 2 parameters selected.
Boom.
So now you navigate down and then down once more. Would you
Yeah.
expect to have both parameters highlighted?
That's what I want.
Okay.
I want them both highlighted because I started here. Unless, and here's the trick, right? Unless we're here and I change the selection manually to there.
Right. I was going to say you need some kind of a reset event, don't you? Which again is the changing of the selection via the mouse and/or keys.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the surface of the designer, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say caret moved. And so now we know when the caret's moved. And I'm also going to, whoops, come in here, and I think we've got an event called selection changed. Yes. This is actually something very cool about DX Core. Visual Studio's integration features don't give you an event for selection change, but we actually, DX Core does. So this is one of the things we give you on top of what's already there. So call method caret moved or selection changed. Like that. Call it there. Call it there. Let's declare it. And here, I think I want to set these both to null.
So this will be interesting to see whether or not those actions are called or those events are called in response to our changing of the selection within the plugin.
We can set a breakpoint to see if they are.
Indeed.
If they are, actually, and I think they are, good point, I think what we need is one more Boolean up here, changing internally.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to do something along those lines like maybe, I guess we put it right here. If changing internally, then get out of here.
Sure.
Okay. Then we still have to write some code to do that. All right. So next we're down to, okay, so we can get rid of method. This is just for demonstration purposes. We're actually going to do
Sure, yeah.
So now we're down into member next, member previous. So now let's look at kind of what that code will look like, how we're going to, what the code that we're going to build there for that. So it's going to look something like this. We're going to get, let's see, we're going to go, let's go into EA dot, EA dot, and so we have method or property. You know what? Hold on a second. I just realized up here I was going with CodeRush.source. We have method or property. Let's do that instead. Okay. So, all right. So we have method or property. And if that's null, we can get out. If the property has a get next code element sibling, that's next sibling. Oops. So that's our next sibling. So I guess all right. So let's do this. Let's do this. If it's null, we'll get out as well. Right, so there's our next sibling. So at this point, our next sibling is valid, but now we have to take the current selection and move it to the next one. So what we need to do is this. If the caret is null, okay, then what we need to do is say caret equals, this is a type element location. So I can do a new element location, but I think what I'm going to do instead is do a from, create a from method, and then we'll pass something into it that is that's meaningful here. So
okay.
The element, I think what we're going to pass in from the we'll pass in the method or property to it. As I think we're going to pass in to it, and we also need to pass it in the caret position as well. CodeRush.caret.sourcePoint. Okay, so what it's going to do is based on it's going to start with the element we pass into it, and then also the thing we want it to line up to. So caret is the source point. Okay, so if it's null, then we're going to do that bit of code right there. Then the next thing we're going to do is let's go in, and actually, now that I think about it, well, okay, we can go ahead and keep this for now. We'll keep this. All right, so then we need something similar that basically says if there's a selection, if anchor is null, like that, we're going to say, if CodeRush dot, wait, let's do this instead. EA dot, do a text view, dot selection dot exists. And we're going to have something like this. Change this to anchor. So anchor is equal to element location from method of property, and here we'll pass in EA text view selection dot with an anchor point, anchor source point. Okay, so it's the anchor. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this up. So this is that linked list, right? The anchor is this element location which stores children of its same type. We're going to build that up. And the thing I was thinking, so so if the selection exists, we're going to set anchor, and then, okay, at this point, we have set anchor and caret, and we have a target element to restore position 2. If needed, this should be if needed. So that's what's going on here, right? Because this could be, we could be calling this several times. If we call it the second time, this will be non-null.
That's right.
And this will be non-null. We're just continuing to restore. So then what we need is a method in here called, like, for example, restore, and we'll pass in the next sibling.
Okay.
To it.
I reckon you could also extract those two if statements to something, another method, because they'll be almost identical in the member previous apply.
You're talking about everything, all of this is what you're talking about.
The last two if statements, certainly.
These major ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, as long as you allow for parameters of next sibling, then perhaps the whole lot, in fact.
You know what I want to do? I want to pass in the text view. Let me do this too. Let's introduce local replace all on this. I'll call this the text view. This is almost certainly always going to be valid, but I'm going to go ahead and say if it's null, then get out. And let's extract all of this and do its own method, because you're right, it is going to be very similar.
It's not entirely. You're going to have to pull the get next sibling out and instead have get previous sibling.
All right, where's this is the piece right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do.
So we can maybe introduce local and promote parameter.
Let's try this. Let's see if I can do this. Add parameter. We're going to say sibling direction. I've never done this before. You created something that doesn't exist. Sibling direction dot next. Can I do that? Oh, it just got it as object. All right. So
I was going to say you extracted a little too much. I was going to take just a little bit from the if underscore caret and extract that, and then you'd have your checks for get next sibling already outside of there. It might be possible to take more.
I know what you're saying, and let me give me a second because here's what I want to do.
Sure.
I want to create an enum called sibling direction, and I want to make it do it next and previous. That's what I want to do. Let's move this over into its own file, and now jump back. Now come over here, add parameter, sibling direction, and pass in next. Okay. Nav to sibling EA coming next. Let's go look at this. What do we need? What do we need inside of here? So we need the method, so we do need my EA method of property and the text view. And so now what I want to do is I want to say if sibling direction equals sibling direction dot next, then we're going to do that. Else, we're going to do a call to get previous code element sibling. Okay, and then we're going to call this just sibling.
Indeed, that's good.
So this we can do go to there, there, there. Then we have restore. So we have a couple things we need to build here still. That means that this becomes this, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so let's declare restore. There's restore, text view. No idea how this is going to work yet. Let's drop a bookmark. And let's build this one right here as well. So there's our from, and we'll call this the method property, that's fine. The source point. And so now we've got our from method, which is we're going to build and create the new element location. So this is going to look something like, I think we're going to, well, let's do this. The first thing we need to do is we need to get, so this is where we're building the chain, right? So the first thing we need to do is we need to get, we need to go into CodeRush.source and we need to say get node at. So this returns the language element at the specified source point. So it'll get a detailed node or whatever it can find at that particular location that we pass in. And so we'll pass in source point to it like that. Okay, so that is going, let's declare that. That'll be the element to start with. And then we need to create, inside of here, we're going to need a new element location. And so that equal to null. And then I basically want something like this. While true, then I want to come down in here and I want to say element location is equal to, and so now we're going to create a new one and initialize it, but I think I'm just going to have another method that does this. So we're going to say from, and we can pass in something different here, have a different set of parameters, so we have a different from method here. From well, let's do this. Let's do this from.
What about a private constructor? You can just use CC and have it generate most of that for you. It'll tell you what it needs for each piece.
Okay, let's do that. So there we've got our constructor and the assignments of all those pieces. Let's do that. And so then we'll do, instead we're going to say it's equal to a new element location, and the element type is going to be element.element type. That's the first one. Is it a detail node? That's going to be element.isDetailNode. Previous matching siblings, we're going to have to calculate that piece right there, and the child is actually going to be coming from this while loop. So we're just going to only need those two parameters to it. So let's come here. We'll take out these two, and take out this. And this one we can calculate with a call to calculate previous matching siblings, and we'll pass into that the this, I guess, and for this we actually need the parent element is what we need. What we need, we actually need to pass in here. We need to pass in the element to it itself. So since I'm doing all this here anyway, yeah. I'm now just doing
on itself. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm now thinking what I want to do is so hold on. Let's do this. I can either, well, we can do this, but it's just going to be all this. It's going to be a little messy. Let me just do this. Let me just create something new here. I'm going to pass in the element to that from element location, and we'll I'm sorry, we'll do this from language element. We'll do this like this, and we'll pass in the language element to it itself, and let's build it this way, and let's just see if we can take any of that code from here. So here, let's do this. Boom, boom, And so we're going to go this dot element type, this dot is detail node, and so here we're going to pass in element. Okay. So it was a great start, but sometimes it's like, okay, we got to change things around a little bit. So, oh, whoops, I got to come in here and I got to say new element location, declare local. So now here, 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 and we're going to return element location. Okay, so not bad. So our calculate previous matching siblings. Let's go declare that and build that piece right there. And so we'll call this one this is the test element, and this is the element location. And then so previous siblings equals 0, stuff like that. And then what we need to do is we need to get a node list from the test element. So what we can do is we're going to say test element. And by the way, I thought we used, here's the thing. I'm sorry, not from test. Oops, hold on. I totally renamed these the wrong way. I want to get this one over here and this over here. Okay. So so with regards to test element, so I thought we had something that had like its index. But we don't. We don't have anything that tells the index within its parent list. So we're going to have to count. We're also going to have to figure out which list to grab. So it's going to go like this. If a test element dot is detail nodes, if we're a detail node, then what we want to work with is test element dot detail nodes, right there.
Can we go test element dot detail nodes dot index of and then pass the test element in?
Well, can we really?
Something like that.
I think that might work. We still need to grab the right list, though. So so we'll call this nodes. That's a good idea. Let's try that. Oh no, wait though. We can do that, yes. But the thing is I want actually the number of matching siblings that are prior to this. The number of try blocks. Yes. If this is a try block, I want the number of try blocks before this.
Because you can get siblings that are not of the same type, for
example. Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, right. There could be comments or other statements or other things in there. So what I want to do here, let's come down here. We're going to come down here. We're going to return this and get rid of that squiggly underline there under that. And okay, so what I want to do is let's widen this out, bring nodes out there. So if we're detailed nodes, then we're going to do that. Otherwise, if we're not a detailed node, then we're just going to grab the nodes list.
Sure.
Okay. In fact, actually, what we want to do actually is we want to grab it from the parent because we're talking about siblings.
Yep.
Let's introduce local replace all, this element parent, and if it's null, then we're going to return 0. If we don't have a parent, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we've got this. Now we've got our nodes list. For each language element in our nodes, what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, let's see. If the element dot element type equals the element location dot element type, then we're going to say previous, what are we counting? Siblings. That's what I want. Previous siblings. We're going to go increase the count. Okay.
Cool.
But the other thing we need to do though too is we need to check to see once we've hit the element that we're already at. So what we need to do is we need to say if element equals a test element, then we're going to break.
Right.
Get out of there. Okay? And so now I think calculate previous matching siblings is done. So we can come back over to that. Okay, so we're kind of building the structure, but then the other thing we need to do, whoops, I don't want to pass in this here, I want to pass in that location to it. Did I get the right? I did. Okay.
That's good, yeah.
All right. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do, Roy, though, is we need to create essentially a vector that points from the piece that we know about, right? So right now we know about these elements, right? But we need to know a vector that points from the element to the actual caret position.
Right, yeah. So if we're 3 characters into the type of the parameter, for example, we need to be that same number of characters into the next sibling type.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line offset.
Well, that's really just showing off, isn't it?
Whoops. Hold on. What'd you say?
That's just showing off, being the precise number of characters into the item. That's good, though. It's good.
You say I'm just showing off. Is that what you're telling me, Roy? Maybe I am.
It's not bad. Don't worry.
All right. So we have. I'm going to make these public for now. I'm just using fields for now because I can turn them into properties and protect, and you do encapsulation later if I feel like it. But right now I'm just going to expose them. So we've got a caret vector, and then we have also like a I don't know. I'll call this like caret location maybe. Now let's call this element position. Oh, come on. And this is going to be an enum. And then how we can work with the things that we know. Like for example, when for everything, here let's look at this. Let me just create a new method, and we'll have a new language element called A, and inside A you can see we have a range, right? This is the start of the element. This is a source range. And the source range consists of 2 source points, and that will give us the start and end of the element. Okay.
It does, yes.
However, we also have a name range.
Mm-hmm.
That gives us the start, and this is just for every language element has this. That's the start and end of the name. Mm-hmm. So we might be here and we say, well, okay, we're closest to the start and end of the element itself, right? So let's store that.
Yep.
Or we might be here and say, well, you know what, we're closest to the start and end of the name range. So element position. What I'm going to do is we'll say start, end, name range start, name range end.
Mm-hmm. It should be pointed out that in some cases these are absolutely the same thing. So there are some items that their name range is their entirety.
Yep. Okay, that's true. So this is going to tell us where the positions are, right? So and then what I want to do is so we've got caret vector. Let's move this over to its own file as well. Caret vector is now moved to its own file. Element location, I think I can get rid of this because I don't need that piece in it. And so, we're back to this while loop right here, right? So we have element locations equal to that. We've got what? We've got its child property. Set that equal to child location, which we've not declared yet. Let's declare that as local. Let's put this up here. Okay. And so that's null the first time around, but the next time in the loop, it's going to be equal to element location. Okay. And then what we can do is we can say if element equals the method or property, then we're done. We've gone up all the way. Okay?
Yep.
Say element, and then we say L is equal to element dot parent. So this is the element here. This is the language element that we're going through right here. We call CodeRush.get node app, and I guess it's possible that this could return null. So we might want to do something like this: return null. I suppose it's possible. Although it's probably never ever going to happen in real life because of the constraints on when this is available. It's always going to be available, right? We said it was only available if we're in a method or property. Okay, sure. Element is equal to parent, and then the other thing we can do too is we can say if element is equal to null, then we can also break, get out. And then finally, we're going to say return the parentmost element location. Seriously, I've got all these things starting with element. There it is right there. Okay. All right, so that is this piece from language element, the vector. So So we created this caret vector piece. Where is it? Right here. Caret vector. Copy that to clipboard, escape to jump back, snap up to the top, and I want to have a new variable of the type that's on the clipboard, caret vector, and we'll call this vector. Like that. Kind of going back and forth on my naming convention here with these. But okay, so we've got vector, there's a caret vector, and then what we want to do, let's go back over, oops, we want to go to, where are we in here? This piece where we create from the language element. I think what we want in here is something that says element location dot vector equals, let's find the get the closest vector. Let's pass in element to that. And actually here we need more than just the element. We need the location we're trying to find and get it close to here. So let's come in here, we'll add a parameter, it'll be type source point, and this will be our we'll call this our target location, like that. And then from the calling point, we'll pass in the source point right there that we've got in here. So we're trying to find the closest thing to it for each of, as we go out, as we build this thing, as we go out to the parent until we find the method or property that we passed in. Okay, so get closest vector. So this is going to need also the target. So let's go declare that. There's get closest vector right there. And we'll just keep with these names. And now, so here, what we want to do is we want to go through all the possible, where is it? All these, and find the one that has the smallest delta line and delta offset. And that's the one we're going to use. That's the one we're going to say is the most meaningful. And the reason why is, so just let me explain what we're doing here, right? Let me get to something with methods in it, okay? If I'm here, the caret is here, right? And we say, what's the start of the element? The vector from the start of the element is the start of the element on the same line, so the line delta 0, and the offset is this many characters. Okay, yeah. Not bad. But let's use its name range. If we use the name range, and we see the line, well, the line offset 0, and so is the offset to the start of that name range, right? Mm-hmm. So what we would do is we would say name range start is the winner, and that's the vector we want to use. Okay? So what we want to do in get closest vector is we want to essentially create a list of caret vectors. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to come down and say new list of, and then use this symbol to indicate what's on the clipboard. And I got to type it in faster because the background parser just parsed that. All right, there we go. These are our locations. And then I'm going to create a method called like add all vectors to add all these up. We'll pass in location so we can get it. Pass in the element and the target. Okay. Then we're going to call locations.sort on it, and we're going to need a new vector comparer. You know, we haven't run yet. Have you noticed?
Yes. This is almost unheard of.
If locations.count greater than 0, then we're going to return locations to 0. The first one, the top one in that list. I'm going to run soon. Otherwise, we're returning null. Just return null. Okay? So, add all vectors. We need to declare this. Boom. Add all vectors is there. And then the other thing that we need to do is we'll just keep all these here. And the other thing we need to do is we need to create a new vector comparer. I guess let's drop a marker there. We'll come back to this in a bit. So now let's come in here and say list. Oops, not say list. Let's say locations. Dot add. And we're going to come in here, we're going to pass in, we need to get a character vector. Let's use from, and then we're going to pass in the target. And then we need to pass in the position that we want to try to get to, which is, for the first one, we'll say element.range.start. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to pass in the element position.start. See it?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Hold on. Let me finish all of these. The element range.end, and then we're going to say the end position that we're going to pass in. So we're creating all these caret vectors, adding to the list. The caret vectors, remember, here's what they've got. They've got line delta, offset delta, and then we're going to sort those, right? We're going to sort those out. Our sorter is going to go find the one that has the smallest delta is going to be bubbled up to the top. All right, so we've got these two. We need two more. We need to work with name range next. And then these are going to be name range start. This one's going to be name range end. Okay, so that's the end of our add all vectors. We need to now come in here and declare this. Our method, boom, over there in caret vector, and then this is going to look something like this. We're going to come in here. Oops, NIMST gives us a new instance. Oh, it didn't work. Let's come down here. We'll do this. We'll do that. There we go. So there's our caret vector, and we're going to say caret vector dot line delta is equal to, and we'll say it's equal to the target dot line minus, what do we got in here? Oops, let's do this so we can see all of this. So I'm calling this start. I'm going to call this the source position instead. And I'm just going to call this position right here. All right. So it's equal to source line minus, target line minus source dot line. That's our delta, our line delta. And our offset delta is going to be target dot offset minus source dot offset. And then we're going to simply return the caret vector. Okay?
Now, are we, that could be plus or minus, so arguably it's the absolute value of that subtraction? So you could have a 3 minus a 5, which will get you a -2, which is effectively the same distance as 2.
Okay, so for sort, yes, exactly. So for sorting, what we'll need to do is take absolute value, but the pure vector itself, we still need to know the direction, so when we restore the position,
True, indeed.
It's still there. Oh, and the other thing we need to do is we need to say element position, caret vector dot element position equals position. Okay? And so now we've got our from method. Boom, boom, boom. And all those are happy now. The last thing is we need to create our vector comparer. So let's do that. And, whoops. So I compare vector, implement it. Let's get rid of this. And let's move this to its own location. Move type to file. And inside the compare method, we need to work with our two vectors, x and y. So we're going to say math.abs of x dot, actually I did want line delta. So that's going to be our abs x line delta. So go to 90 degrees, we'll also get the name. Look at that, that's nice. Absolute y delta is equal to that. If the line deltas are both equal to each other, then we want to go with the offsets next. So if line delta is equal to that, then we want to come down and do something very similar to this, but with using, instead of lines, using offset. And I actually could have even copied that line of code as well down there. But, well, actually, no, I don't need that. I can just say now, say return math.sign of absolute x delta minus abs y, offset delta. That's what we return here. Otherwise, we can return the line deltas here. Using camel case nav just to get in there and get those two pieces there. So that's our vector compare. Let's set some breakpoints and we'll run. Okay?
Okay.
Restore, we have no idea what's happening with restore yet. So with restore, we're going to figure that part out. let's set breakpoint here. Let's set breakpoint here. And anything, Roy, do we have any questions before we run? Do we have anybody?
There's nothing so far. Guys, if you want to ask any questions about what we've done, please feel free to add them in the appropriate box there, and we will get to them as soon as we can.
We'll set a breakpoint.
This should be very interesting here. So what we've done is we've created a mechanism which the whole idea is obviously nav up or nav down, but we're going to reach the point where we calculate the linked list from effectively the cursor, the caret on screen, back to the method, a chain of elements that will link us up there. And where those elements had multiple siblings of the same type as an option, we're going to know which one of those siblings we are.
All right, so here we are. Let's open up Object Initializer Test. Yeah, this is unheard of. It's a lot of code to make all this work. Okay, so caret moved. All right, I'm going to clear the breakpoint for that. We'll just run it. Caret moved, selection change. I'm going to clear the breakpoint here. This is pretty simple code. We can step through it later if we're having problems. Selection changed. Okay, what the heck. So that all happens as the as Visual Studio opens the files and gets it to the right spot. Well, we need to set up some shortcuts. So we can use the nav menu, but I want to set up shortcuts for this. So navigation, structure. Let's create a new folder. Call it member navigation, I guess, members, and click OK. And then we're going to create two shortcuts in here. I'm going to use Control-Alt page up and page down. So Control-Alt page up, the command is going to be navigate, and the parameter is the name of our navigation provider. And we called it member previous. So that's this piece. Let's see, the context should be, I guess, code. Then we want to say something like in method or in the property. I think that'll work. All right. So let's copy the context. Let's create a new shortcut binding. This one's going to be Control-Alt page down. Command is going to be navigate, and the parameters are going to be here. It's going to be member next. And we're going to come in here, we'll paste that context. Okay. So now if we're here, we're going to hit Control-Alt page down, and first check is, are we available? It's not null, so we're available. So method or property is going to get us the method or property even if we're not actually right at the start of the method. If we're anywhere in it, it'll get us that method or property that we're in. So basically it's just a test to say, are we in a method or property? Which case we are. Now we're in nav to sibling. So let's see where we came from. We came from here. Next member next apply. So that's where we're coming from. There's our direction. All right. So let's step through this. Method or property. There it is. Sibling direction is next. So we're going to get our method or property next code element sibling. And so which one? Oh, there's method or property. The sibling is there. You can see it's the void proc. Okay, so we found the next one. If caret is null, which it is because it's the first time we're using it, we're now going to build this up. Let me just run it and see what happens. Now let's explore caret. Look at it. Okay, so the outermost, this is the top level of the list, right? The first element in the list. It says it's a method. It's got a vector. Its vector says name range end. Its line delta is 0 and its offset delta is 13. So it means it's on the same line as the name range, but it's at the end of the name range, but it's 13 characters to the right.
Yep.
Okay? That's where we started because we were over in the parameters. Let's go into the child. Child is a parameter. Notice it has no children. So it's a parameter. Its vector, nice. See it? 0 and 0 for the line and offset. It's right on the name range end. It's on the end of the parameter and has one matching sibling, so it's the second parameter. I'm quite happy at this point.
That's very good.
Selection exists? No, it does not. So anchor remains null. Now we're into this restore, which I don't know what's going on. We'll figure out restore I guess we'll do that now. I guess is what we'll do. I was going to say we'll do it a little bit, but I can't really think of anything else. Now it seems like our data structure is what we want it to be. So, let's do that and let's write the code. So the essence of this is going to look, I think, something like this. It's going to, we have at this point, we have an anchor. We need to use anchor. We need to use anchor, and we need to use caret. Those are the two things that we need to use, right? And in fact, what we really want is so the anchor is we just kind of drilled through those. In fact, let's look at those right now. Let me comment these out. We'll set up watches for these, and we'll take a look at these in the watch. Right-click that and say add watch. Will it work? Okay, it does. Nice. Oh, anchor is null. Let's go ahead and grab caret down there. All right. So let's just look at that one more time. And I think, Rory, we're going to have to stop and write more code to make this part work. But
Sure.
The essence of this is what I want to do is I want to actually kind of make a call into the object itself. I want the code here to look something like this. I want to say caret dot get best location. So you pick it. You pick your best location, and I want to pass in the sibling to it. Okay. So for the new sibling, you find the best location, and that's going to be a source point. We'll just call this caret, like that. Okay, and then what I want to do is we've got the text view that we're passing in. We're just going to say text view dot caret dot move to, whoops, caret, like that. That would be the move to situation. But we also want to check to see if the anchor. Here, let's get rid of this so we can see more code. If the anchor is not null, right, then what we want to do is we want to come in here and say anchor dot get, let's just do this, copy, paste, get best location, call this anchor, and then we want to come down in here and say text view, but instead of calling the caret, we're going to go to selection, and there's a method called set inside of there, and it takes an anchor followed by an active position. So we'll pass an anchor followed by the caret. So that will set the selection for us. Okay. And then, the other thing that we need to do is we need to essentially take all of this. We need to put it in a try finally, and we need over here we need to say moving internally. Oh, come on, don't we have moving internally? I thought we had changing internally. Sorry, changing internally is equal to false. Oops. And up here, true. Changing internally is equal to true. So that's
Are we missing an else clause just after that if test so that we don't both set the selection and do a move to?
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what we need. So we need it like here. Whoops. Else.
Cool.
Yes. I'm happy. So we need this.
So we've got one method to build.
Well, we'll see what happens.
And all the other ones it may call, potentially. Yeah.
I'm going to comment all this out for a second just because I want to shut down cleanly so I still have access to the clipboard instead of hitting stop debugging. Because if I can't continue to edit and continue because I've written code that doesn't compile yet. So let's just put a marker here. We'll continue to run. Then I'm just going to shut this down. Okay. So now let's uncomment that block of code. Whoops, we don't need anchor and caret near the end. And let's go in to get best location and let's build that. So let's do this. I'm going to call this element, not sibling. In fact, I just want to go back over to the call for get best location, and I want to change this to element as well. Let's going to call that element coming in there. Let's go back over to get best location. And so the idea here is we have all of those essentially that list of pieces that we want to kind of drill into, those locations, right?
Yeah.
That we're inside that element location. And what I want to do is I want to compare the deltas of each one, and if the delta is smaller than the one that we already had before it, then we're going to use that one. Okay? So that's what we're doing. We're going to start at the method, then we're going to go into the parameter, and then go into maybe the type reference. Each one of those until we find something where we've got a delta offset, a delta for the offset and a delta for the line of 0, or something very small. So I need some ints that say like biggest line delta so far. Set that equal to int.max value. And this is going to be the biggest offset delta so far, also set to that. Okay. Then, and the other thing is we're inside this element location. That's what we're in, right? It's got this child of type element location. So we need something to kind of essentially iterate through it. So,
Mark, would those not be the smallest deltas so far?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it would be.
Because we're not going to get much bigger than max value, really.
And that's why you're here, Roy. All right. So we're going to say, we'll call this like location, and we'll initialize it with this. So we'll start with this one, and then we'll kind of go down all the way down. So we need something like this. While, location is not null, and element is not null. And oh, look at this. We're passing in code element here. This is coming from get best location. Oh, I see. Restore took code element inside of it, and that's because of Sibling is also, I see, code element. So we can actually make this. So for here it's code element, but inside of restore, we can change this to simply a language element.
Sure.
And then inside of get best location, we can do the same thing here, language element.
So that'll let us navigate, for instance, comments and things like that.
Right. Language element is an ancestor to code element. All right. So we have the two smallest pieces, and so while element is not null, so then what we want to do is we want to say let's go into location.vector, and let's declare a local for that, and then let's also go with our let's get this line delta. Let's actually pass it into math.abs, and call this line delta size. Okay, and let's call this the offset. Offset delta size as well. This is our offset delta. So we have those two, and then we need a check that says something like this: if our line delta size is smaller than our smallest line delta so far, okay, or these two are equal to each other, and the offset line offset, I'm sorry, not line offset, the offset delta size is less than the smallest offset delta so far. So if that's the case, right, then what we want to do, then we have found some smaller vector.
Yeah.
Right? So then what we want to do is we want to say we want to figure out what the source point is. We want to get we want to calculate what the effective source point is for this particular location. Okay, so let's create a method, and we'll pass in the element to it and the vector to it, and that is going to return a source point. Oops. That. And then the other thing that we want to do is we want to we want to come down in here and we want to do something like this. We want to say location equals location dot child. So we go kind of drilling down into that. And then we want to also drill in with the element itself. We want to say element is equal to, and we'll call like a new method called getChildElement. It's going to calculate the appropriate child element for that. We're going to pass an element to it, and the new location. Okay, and then we're going to have some code here that says if location. Well, actually, let's not do that yet. So we need to create a couple methods here. One is getChildElement, and the other one is getSourcePoint. And so what's happening is we're just going through the loop, right? There's our while loop right there. We're drilling down into the children a piece at a time, and if we find a smaller vector, then we're going to sort. Actually, this, I think what we need to do. Let's do this. Let's say this, because I think there's a possibility that we could return an empty value here. So let's call this the new position here, like this, and then say if new position is not equal to sourcePoint.empty, then what we're going to do is say result equals new position. Let's go that, and let's put that up here. Let's set that equal to the default sourcePoint.empty. And then at the end of this whole thing, we'll return it. Okay, so that will be our best location. So let's go declare getSourcePoint. Put that in here. And this is where we kind of have to work with. We have to work with both the element and the location and the vector location. I'm sorry, the vector location there. And work with that. So I think we need to do, first of all, just check to make sure the element is null or the vector is null. And we're going to get out of here. We're going to return sourcePoint.empty. Okay, so we have that. And then we want to look at the position. Let's put a switch statement on that. All right, so based on the element position, we want to then do some code here. So we basically want to do something with, at this point, for example, name range start, what we want to work with is we want to work with element.namerange.start is what we want to work with there, for example. And for name range end, the same thing. We're going to grab the end instead. All right, so that's what we want to work with. And excuse me. And then, so what the code's going to look like is something like this. It's going to be like a return new source point, and then we're going to pass in the name range dot end dot line plus the vector dot line delta, comma, it's a little messy, but I think we can clean this up. And then this is going to be offset delta, and name range dot end dot offset, like that. And then we can select that, let's extract that to its own method, and we'll call this get position, like that. And oops, let's not decompose that too far. So I'm here, and I'm looking at decompose parameter, and it's suggesting a line and offset passing in, and look at what it's passing in down the bottom. But I really want to just pass in element.namerange.end. That's what I want to pass in, not two parameters, just one. See it?
Yeah.
See what I'm talking about, Roy? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to introduce local replace all, and we'll call this the source point, I guess. Now I want to come in here. Now can I decompose parameter the way I want to? There we go, like that. So now I've decomposed the parameter, and now I'm going to do a trick. I'm just going to rename this to that and then delete that. And so now I've essentially passed in one source point I'm using. It's line and offset there. Okay, so there's my call to get position. So that's what's going on there. Do the same thing here. This one is going to be just range.n. Whoops, I will copy that because I need the above. There's range.n and that's range.start. And then down, I guess at the end of all of this, I guess we can just throw an exception because we're essentially going through all these. Yeah, you know, this is actually a good idea. So we'll throw a new exception and we'll say unexpected vector element or element position elements, enum elements. Okay, so get source point, that's how that works. And then get child element. Let's go declare get child element. Okay. Any questions at this point on this, Rory? What do you?
No, we seem fairly absent from questions. I did notice you've got a method. Is it just slightly off the top? You were just working on where you built a source point, a source range.
I don't think I built any source ranges.
Source point, sorry.
Source points.
Yeah. So there's an optimization you can do there. You can take your source point that you're starting from, and there's a method on it called offset point. You can just pass in the delta x and delta, the line and offset deltas.
Oh, interesting.
Self-referencing a lot.
Okay, so instead of getting this method right here, we can come in instead say get position dot start dot what's it called?
Point.
Offset
point, the middle one there.
Oh, and pass in lines and columns. Interesting. Vector dot line delta. Okay. You know what I think I'm going to do? Since I kind of like how clean that is, so I think I'm going to do it here instead.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. So we're going to say return source point dot offset point by vector dot lines line delta vector dot offset delta. Roy, I love it when you do this. Okay. So we don't need that other stuff. All right. So get child element. All right. So if element's null, we can't do anything. Then what we need to do is we need to go through the nodes on this element. In fact, let's look at get child element. What are we passing into it? So we're passing in. I'm just wondering, do we need to pass in? So this is the child element. Oh yeah, we're okay. So at this point, we're passing in the parent. Right, element is going to be reassigned to its child. So we're passing in the parent piece right at this point. So okay, so this is going to be return null there, and then we need to do something like this. If location dot is detail node, then we're going to say nodes is equal to element dot detail nodes. Let's do this. Else nodes equal to element dot nodes. Declare. Oh, interesting. I didn't know we had a nodes list on empty. Okay, so we have that, and then we're going to come down and we're going to say return find int element. And we're going to pass in nodes to that, and we're going to pass in location dot previous matching siblings. Actually +1. So we're going to find the nth one, and then we'll need to specify the type of the element we're looking for, and that's going to be location.element type. There it is right there. Find an element. Let's declare that. I feel like we're almost done. So that's our nodes. This is going to be the count and the element type we're trying to match.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I can do this. If null, then return null. And then we want to do something like this. For each language element, in nodes, if element dot element type equals the element type we're looking for, then what we want to do is we want to increment our count. Okay, and then what we want to do is say if none found is equal to our count, then we want to return the element.
Yep.
All right, let's declare this. Okay, and then the only other thing, Rory, is what happens if we're looking for the third parameter, but we only have two? What can we do? And so what I'm thinking we do is we do something like this. We say last element found, last matching element found is equal to element. Okay. And I want to actually, I want to put this whole thing inside brackets like that. And then down here I want to say return last element found. Put a local there. And now I want to build. And it succeeded. And I think we're ready to try it, is what I think. So
seems pretty good, yeah.
Let's run it. I like how the octave pitch of your voice goes up by about, you know. I'm sorry, I love how the pitch of your voice goes up by an octave. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Let's see what happens.
Well, it's fairly complex code to follow, isn't it? We're talking about linked lists, traversing up the list in order to create it in the first place, back down the list afterwards. And at each point, certainly when we're looking at the end, we're not necessarily, as you said, iterating just through a list of sibling items. We're looking through the list of sibling items, checking only for those that happen to match the original specification.
Right. All right, so yeah, I think I mentioned it was going to be mind-blowing. Okay, so by the way, I hit Control-Alt, the dot, Control-Alt period to bring up the recent files list, and I'm going to open up some source code to CodeRush called text document. It's one of our biggest source files that we have. All right, here we go. So let's just put the caret here and, like, you know, say a prayer to the gods of programming. So Control-Alt page down. Nav to next sibling. Restores the most interesting piece that I think I want to go into is right in here. So let's set a breakpoint here and run and step through it. Boom, boom, boom. What do we get? An exception. Oh, all right, so we'll drill in and we'll find out what's going on. So fortunately, because we're using CodeRush, the Visual Studio doesn't crash. There's protection around all of the plugins that you build, and when a command or an event handler goes, there's try-catch wrapping around all that, so Visual Studio doesn't come to crash. All right, so let's do this. Let's do the command again, and I can clear this breakpoint, run. Let's drill inside of here, get best location. So let's see where are we having a problem. Location is not null. Okay, so now what do we have? Our line delta size is 0. Line delta size 0. Smallest delta so far. Okay, so our line delta 0 is what got us in here. So now we're calling get source point. I have a feeling, is this the problem? Well, let's see what happens. F10. Okay, so that looks reasonable. It's right. It's 417.42. Right. It's around the right spot. Can we see the background? We can't. Okay. If we're on multiple monitors, we could. So then the problem must be in here. I wonder if it's in here. Let's just go get child element. That actually looks good. What's going on? I may have to wrap it in a try-catch just to see where we die. Here, location's location not child. Oh, maybe location. Oh, maybe I need a check. Oh no, so I'm okay there with location null. Let's see what's happening here. Come on, you shouldn't need to go more than a few levels deep here. There we go. Down at null there. Let's go inside here now that we're null. See what's happening. Element. And what? Element is not null? Wait, what's going on here? Child, get child element. Oh, that was the last one we passed in. I see. But location is now null. So maybe that's the problem we're about to hit. Is that it? There, that's the problem. So we need to do this. Or location equals null, then we're out. So set that Okay, let's go back. Let's shift to 11 to get out, shift to 11 to get out. Now what do we have here? Now caret is reasonable. Okay, so let's run. See what we get. All right, so without the breakpoints, up, up, down. Oh, look, we're skipping. Up. Why are we skipping? Down, down. That works. Go up, up. Didn't do anything that time. Up. There it went up. Down, down, up. Look at that. It skips. That's like a little crazy. Why is it skipping? Let's get a whole selection in here. You know, it looks almost promising for a minute. Down, and then not at all. And I'm like hungry, and I'm like, my brain's like saying, all right, you fix it, Rory. Hold on,
I'm wondering, is there any strangeness behind
one
of those methods that you were traversing through appeared to be a constructor? Is there something special about that?
I don't think so. But I just put cashews in my mouth. Let's see if we can debug this and figure out what's going on. So let's do this. Control page up to go up. That worked. Control page down to go down. That worked.
And it's in the right place, which is good.
This one works too. Down again. That works. Yeah, and then we kind of get messed up. What is going on? All right, well, let's debug it. Let's set breakpoints. Let's figure out what's going on here. So I think we want to...
we need to find an example that reliably fails.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's see if we can find that first. Let's get a failure going. I think that's a good idea. Let's try this. Let's do this. I just want to see if I put it at the start what's happening. There we go. There's a failure. So I went down and then down again, and nothing happened. And the second time it did work. Now Control page up is not working. No, and then it worked. 6, 7, 8, 9. Do I just wait, wait, wait? And then it works? That's really odd. It's as if there's a state issue with for example, anchor or caret almost. It's odd. It's really, really odd. So let's do this. You know what I want to set the breakpoint on? I want to set the breakpoint on here and here first, just to see what we get. All right, Control page up. Okay, so caret was null, run, and we're in a very strange position. Control page up. Let's try again. Let's try from here. Control page down, and then we get it, run, and down, down. So now it's not being reset, right? I'm hitting up and down, and that caret position is not being changed. So it has to do with our sibling, either our sibling code for getting the next sibling, or in the restoration, because it's not in the setting, because the setting is there, right? So like for example here, I'm skipping over. So let's set a breakpoint in the code to nav to the sibling. And we'll see what's going on with there. My suspicion is it's inside restore and not over here inside of nav to sibling. But let's set a breakpoint here. Let's see where we are. So we are on fast insert text, and I'm going to hit Control-Alt page down to get to fast delete text. So do that. So I'm expecting sibling to be fast delete text. It is. See it there in the hint?
Sure.
Hard to move the mouse over it. There it is right there. Fast delete text. So the sibling is correct. Let's continue to run and just see. Okay, so sibling, oh, and then it actually worked there. Hold on. Up, down. We need a failure is what we need. Okay, up, down. Hold on. Let's do this. Boom. There's a failure. All right, so let's do this. So we're going to write some hard-coded stuff here. So we're on fast delete text. I want to get to fast set text. That's what I want to get to right there. Okay? I'm going to hit Control-Alt page down. Sibling. Add block delimiters. If sibling dot name is not equal to, oops, that was a mistake. I copied from Visual Studio, the one we're debugging, and I pasted in here. I wonder if we can recover. I'll give it a second because I think there's like a delay. But what's happening is there's a clipboard chain, right? Windows is trying to go out to the instance of Visual Studio that's debugged to get its clipboard piece so it can paste it. I should have just typed it in. And I think I'm a little bit screwed. Yeah, that's called a little bit screwed right there. Okay, so with that said, let's bring up, oops, that's not what I want. I want to bring up my task manager, and I want to kill some instances of Visual Studio. And let's kill the one that is running out there, and that should come back and give us, but we can't paste it in. So we'll do this. I want to set a breakpoint here is what I want to do. Let's run it one more time, and we'll fill in that text by typing it in, not by using the clipboard. Or we could use the we use the clipboard, paste it into something else so it doesn't need to go back to Visual Studio. Oh, yeah, actually, it's so many. So yeah, this is the trick, right? You're debugging, you copy, and then you paste in Visual Studio. All right, Control-Alt. Got. Yeah, I hate it when this happens, just for the record.
Yeah.
When we're like really close, and it takes like a half hour to just get that smallest step forward. All right. Okay, so let's do this. We're here, and we're going to hit Control-Alt page down, process decorators for view. Let's do this. I'm going to start up a new instance of Notepad, and I'm going to paste it into Notepad, that piece right there. Then I'm going to copy it from here when I'm in the debug state. Okay, so Control-Alt page down. Sibling name is not equal to. I'm going to Notepad copying and coming in and pasting. Come on. Paste. Why is it not pasting? That's really odd. Paste. Huh. Okay. If it's not equal to that, then we set a breakpoint. So let's put code back up here. And then we'll run. Clear that breakpoint. Okay. So let's do this a couple times to see if we can get it. There. Just got it. Add adornment. Get next code element sibling is maybe causing the problem. Maybe. So let's.
So it returned, what was it? Add adornment when it should have been processing. We believe, passing as process decorators for view.
Yeah, that's what happened. So let's change.
So where is add adornment relative to these things that we were expecting?
I think we're going to jump right into it and we'll see it. Add adornment's there. It's one past it. So let's do this. Let's do this. Instead of choosing get next code sibling, let's look at the other options that we have. We're still running.
Okay.
And see if we have something that's more reliable. All right, so let's go back in here. We're going to go page down, sibling name. This time it is correct, but let's see what else we have in method or property.
I think we have several different sibling-related items.
So what is the difference between Nixcode sibling and get Nixcode element sibling? Nixcode sibling gets the non-comment sibling to this element or null if no siblings containing code follow this element. And then what's this one? Get next code element sibling. Here's the next code element sibling. Let's see if the other one is any better. So what I want to do is method property dot next code. What is it called again? What do we get that next?
Next
code sibling. I think
sibling.
it was. I'm not seeing it here in next. There it is. Okay, I just had another.
Okay, now is it possible this is a timing issue, so that second breakpoint should be moved to underneath, so we get a chance to.
I just want to go here and kind of compare is what I want to do. I want to get to. Let's see if we can get to a point where we can. So up and down. Add adornment comes back here. It's coming back here. Do we have anything? Can we see it?
So I'm curious at this point in time, what if you reevaluate method or property dot get next code element sibling, will the timing issue have been resolved, and will it now be?
Well, check this out. Method or property is equal to property decorators for view. Is that right?
Oh.
Let's maybe change this. Maybe this is the problem. Let's just see what we have here. So method or property is process decorators for view. What happens if we go into CodeRush.source.active method or property? What do we get here? Can we see it? Do I have to add a watch to this? I guess I have to add a watch. I hate it when this happens. Okay, well I have to come in. It did add it. I just need to come in and say DevExpress dot CodeRush dot core dot CodeRush dot source. So dormant host process decorators review. All right, let's use this instead. That is weird and feels like a bug to me.
Yeah.
Can we make a note at the time and ask devs to jump in at this time and see what's going on? Because let's come back up here. Oh, come on. Oh, because it's a different type, isn't it? Active method or property, method or property. This is probably going to come in and say, it's going to be a language element here, I bet. Okay, so get next code sibling was okay. It was just the problem was up there at the beginning, I think. So let's clear this. Let's just do this for a second. Come back up here. Come on, what's wrong now? Uh-oh. Ron was taking what? It needs a member. We need to change the type to language element. So, all right, let's do this. Let's compile. Let's build it. See if that works. I'm not sure if this is going to fix it or not, actually, Roy. I think it's going to get part of the problem, but there's another problem that was kind of odd that I want to look a little bit more into. Maybe. Let's see. So that was, let's clear this breakpoint here. Clear this breakpoint here. And let's open up that big file again. Come on, I want this to work. Okay, so let's come down in here and we'll now see what happens if we're in a little bit better shape. That makes me happier.
That looks
going
good.
up, going down, and I'm stopping at each point. Uh-oh, that doesn't make me so happy. Wait, that makes me happy. That does not. But I think we fixed that. This is not bad.
Yeah.
See that? See that? If I have one there, it's getting it. See the type? See that?
Sure.
Now I'm on the second one. Nothing, 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 nothing. Oh, we're out in space here. But if we've got something, we go there. It's not bad. Let's see what happens if we select everything. Down. Ooh, that's not good. Do this, down, down. So as long as it's got something that matches, we're good. If it has something that doesn't match, right, we're not so good.
Sure.
Okay. So we need to fix that, I think, is what we need to do. Right? We need to kind of make the code a little bit smarter. And let's see if we can do that. Let's go look at over here. I want to go into I think I had a method called getBestLocation. There it is. And let's look at what's going on when we have the problem. So by the way, now we're in a state that is much better than we were before. Okay, right? We can put the caret on the first piece of the first line of code, control up, page down, get the first line of code of the next method, right? Going up and down, and we can even do things that are more specific. Like, let's see if we have any switch statements in here. So now let's be on here, the expression of a switch statement. Control up, page down. Okay, crap.
Yeah.
Oh, and we shouldn't even be in here because it's not a piece. But look at this though, right? Let's select the first case statement of the switch. Move up.
Yeah. I'm betting you could even move using the attributes attached to a method as well.
I don't know. Let's
because they're considered detail nodes of the method, or at least of the attribute section of the method.
Let's see. Control that page down. It's not working because I think we're coming back and saying we're not in a method. We have to change the context for it.
That's interesting because that effectively is a detail node which is not part or not within its parent's range.
However,
kind of exceptional.
Yeah. However, Rory, I think we can fix it. Let's see what happens when we're so here. Let's solve this problem, right? We're here and we go up. That's actually not bad to me. That's good. It seems to be when there's a selection that we have a problem. We're there. We go up. Now that one's okay too. We're on the third parameter selection. It's when we get to no parameters. Is that the problem? Let's try a method with no parameters. Come on. Whoops. We had a problem there.
The one with the range extended out to the right was the constructor.
Yeah. What's this? There we go.
There's another one.
Okay, so here.
So that's obviously not constructor, so it's not that, yeah.
And we go up. All right. So let's come back over here to our running piece, and let's set a breakpoint in here. This is where we're drilling down, right? Get best location. At some point in here, I'm expecting us to find a child but no location or something like that. One of these is going to mismatch. Okay? So let's try it. So we're here. We hit Control Up, Page Up, and let's see what do we get. So location is good. Get child element is null. So okay, so now we have a situation where we say location is not null, right?
Mm-hmm.
But element is null. We're not able, and element is null, right? So right? And let's just see what location element type is. It's a parameter. So let's do something like this. Let's just do a special case. If location dot element type equals language element type dot parameter. Okay, so we're going to do that. Then we'll come in and we'll say, let's get, what do we got? Element is null. So this is the problem with this kind of thing, right? With code like this that reassigns onto the same variable, this used to have a valid value that was really valuable to us.
Yeah, it's hard to replay it in a debug situation.
No, it's not, because we are geniuses, Roy. And we have edit and continue. And we're going to set execution here, back to the top. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so now our parent we'll save the parent, bam, and I'm going to hit a breakpoint here. I'm expecting to get right down in here if we run. Come on. No! What?
Well, hang on. We're assigning element to parent, but not then using parent in the following code.
Yeah, but I still was expecting the breakpoint to be hit. What? All right, let's set breakpoint back to here. Try one more time. That totally should have worked. Parent is element. I set it back up to the top. I thought I did. All right, well, let's do it again. So we're here. We're going to hit Control Alt Page Up. Boom. Come on. There. That's what I wanted to be at. Mm-hmm. Now parent is equal to the method. You can see it. Void macro is defined. So let's do this. Parent as method. Let's just spell it right. There we go. Declare local. If not null, then we can say return method dot param open range. So where the open paren is and the end of that range. So if there's ever a language that uses something other than parameters to delineate, other than parentheses to delineate parameters, this will still work.
Yep.
Okay. If it's not a parameter, well, that's a problem still too. Let's set a breakpoint there and see if we find any of those. All right, so now if we're here and we say go up, we go right between, we go up, and we're out at the end of the parameters again, back down here. Select the last one, go up, selection remains. It's working a little bit better. Right? What do you think, Rory? You want to say we're done, or do you want to? Because here's the thing: I'm noticing the time, hour 40. I'm thinking what we want to do is we want to say the feature is essentially done.
Yep.
I'll do a little bit of cleanup. Oh, there we just found a problem there. So I'll do some cleanup on this, and we will and I'll get you the source code and we'll ship it out. Because I'm just thinking, with regard to time that's remaining and what is left with regards to the feature, that sort of thing. But the cool thing is like I say, if you come in here, we put like a catch block on. Let's put a catch block here, and a catch block around this code in here, like that. As well, and you're going from method to method. You can be like right in here, and if we hit all page up, let's do it. We didn't get on the catch. Oh, because it wasn't at the top level. Hold on. We need it to be at top level. It's got to match the children. So we go like this. The catch block's there. And so we're now at a top level catch. And now we can hit all page up and all page down to get from catch to catch. The other thing that we should be able to do, remember we stored those. So here I've got the name selected. I'm moving up and down. Or I could do the return type up and down through the return types. Okay, that one bugs me. Because you know what it is? It's not a method, and we're jumping to it. And then we're like, now we don't know what to do right there. So I'll work in fixing that. But the thing I was going to say is you could even do something crazy like have this. See how I've got the selection there where I've left out the first and last character? And it should still find the, oops, that empty line one is always going to mess with me, isn't it? It should still find, keep that relative selection on all the other methods, right? Even though that's totally crazy, you never would want to do that. But it gets you there, right? It gets you.
So go on. What happens if your selection starts, let's say, 8 or 9 characters into the name of the method, and you navigate down to a method whose name is shorter than that?
Well, if we're like, so here's the thing. Remember, it goes to the closest point, right? Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and answer the question since you asked it, right? I'm going to call this DQ for dumb question, and and we'll try that. So we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in. We'll just have a selection like that. And we'll hit down, and yeah. So interesting. What happens actually inverts the selection. So notice here I have the carrots on the right side, and what happens is there it just goes the other way. However, if I get this much closer to the name range, in other words 0, right now the vector, that caret vector is 0 on both of those. That's right? It's right on the name range. Boom, it's still in the name range.
Excellent.
So, it's okay. I think that we've created a feature that has like, maybe 100 edge case minor bugs. However, for the purposes of, generally just.
But it does still get you in the range, even if in those edge cases, you are still on the right line around the method. So it's not a disaster by any stretch.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's very useful for the majority of stuff. And the reason I wrote this is sometimes, the reason I want to do this is that sometimes I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm here, I'm at 2 methods that are very close to each other, and I just want to, get to the same spot that I'm in relative to the 2 methods that are close to each other very quickly, right? And that's the whole point, right? I'm here, let's jump down, and I'm right in there, right? I get right into that point.
Yeah, I mean, this happens very often when you've got a series of overloads next to each other where they've got different different parameters as the end results, but the first 2 or 3 are the same.
Yep. So look at this. I'm on a for loop, the first for loop of the method, and I should be able to go up and down. Well, it looks like I'm stopping on the region right there. Hold on a second. Down, down, down. Looking for that for loop, and it's not finding it. Let's see if I can find. Let's do a while. If we've got anything else with a while loop in there.
Well, you've got a couple of methods there with ifs in them. That would be similar.
Oh, sure. There you go. Yeah. There you go. So going from.
So that's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I got to fix this to the point right here where we're going to empty line. I'm going to do those offline. We're going to say, okay, we're wrapping this up because I told you it was going to be intense, take a lot of time. Anybody got any questions while we're
We have 0 questions.
Does for folks who are with us, who've managed to stay all the way with us, if there are anybody who's managed to stay in live right now, I'm just interested in feedback. Do you guys think that this was valuable / worth it? That's my question to you. If you think it was, let me know, and if not, I will take that critique accordingly. Yeah. All right. So we will, at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Amanda. Yeah, send us some feedback, guys, if you like this or not. And Amanda, you can get us out of here.
Mark, just so you know, we do have some comments coming in. Eddie says, cool, thanks for the session. And then we have my mind hurts a little, too many algorithms, too little CodeRush related stuff.
I see. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I should probably acknowledge that. Yeah, and we will change it so that the brain does not hurt so much the next time around. The problem is we needed to create some new things that didn't exist, right? One is a concept of a caret vector. That was one of the complex pieces.
Yeah.
The element location was really pretty gnarly, right? It's in here with these pieces. The other thing, but I will say this though. Notice that we have this element position start. We could add more of these. We could add support for child nodes, right? And not just name ranges, but look for the blocks, the child nodes, like the first detailed node, the last detailed node, that sort of thing. And we can do just a couple lines of code changing the places where these exist and basically modifying add all vectors, right? We can add more vectors to it because we're just picking the best one.
You're effectively adding snap lines to your code.
What did you say? Snap lines?
They're kind of like snap lines. So when you, like in Windows 7, when you drag a window to the left side of the screen,
oh right,
it snaps to 50%.
Yes.
And like in a grid-based scenario, when you're dragging controls on a form, in order to position them, there are kind of snap lines you can have in place. So again, you're introducing that kind of concept for your code.
So we could improve the accuracy of this doing that, using that technique, right? The other thing we could do too is, the problem we saw with regard to the vector, right? We have this from vector, right? We might do something like this where we might also, in addition to storing a line delta and offset delta, we might store a real number that corresponds to the percentage that we're moving in of the entire name range. So for that one where I typed in that new method and called it DQ, Rory, we could store a percentage, so if we found that line delta and offset delta took us too far, we could resort back to the percentage if we wanted to. We could actually fix that edge case with some small changes. So yes, I acknowledge that there was a lot of code here. Next time I will strive, next time, by the way, the one that I'm leaning towards, let me see if I can bring this up. Where is it? This is the one I'm leaning towards. Mitchell Perfetti suggested matching namespace and folder name with default namespace for all files in a project. So that's what I'm leaning towards next time, and my hope is that one will be done in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It'll be a much shorter, faster thing. Yes, this one we had to build a lot of stuff, but I think overall the end result with just a little bit more cleanup is going to get you a feature that I think you're going to use. You're going to find, hey, I want to go from one method to another, and it's so much faster now. It really gets me to the piece I want to get to based on where I'm starting. Okay. Well, I guess the only other thing on my mind is the idea of extending it so it works with statements. So I can go from statement to statement. So if I'm here and I say move down, it takes me there.
Nice. Right.
Or if I'm here, well, this is just up and down. But that's kind of, that's another thing to think about. So, all right. So, Rory, do you have any? You're being kind of quiet on this. You're not normal. You're normal. Like, hey, that's pretty killer.
I think it was the algorithms, as was indicated in the comments. No, I think this is very good, very useful indeed. As you say, it's kind of like this parallel shift where, as I say, overloads is a very good opportunity for navigation amongst them, especially where you want to. You have the scenario effectively where you've got the starting few parameters are identical, at least the same types, and you can move to the third and the fourth it's just very good. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so give me a couple hours to clean this up. We'll get the source code out to you, and then we'll call it a feature. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Amanda, you can take us out.
All right. Thank you, Mark and Rory. All right, everybody. We have a whole lineup of webinars that are currently posted through September. We have a bunch of great guest presenters and then DevExpress product tutorials. Check them out and register at devexpress.com/webinars. Coming up next week, of course, as always, your CodeRush feature workshop. Next week, it is back to its normal time frame, starting at noon Pacific Standard Time. And then tomorrow, Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, making money from free apps with the Microsoft Ad SDK, the final installment in our Chris G. Williams Windows Phone 7 webinar series. This webinar covers the concepts behind ad-supported software and includes setting up an account in Microsoft Pub Center, setting up applications and ad units in Pub Center, and finally using the Ad SDK to show ads in your apps and games. And again, if you missed anything from this webinar or you want to review any previous webinars, visit us on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. Again, thanks so much to Mark and Rory. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for choosing DevExpress.